We're talking to you today about tools that will help students, but truly we help people of all ages, little bitties, infants and toddlers and sooner start, anybody of any age, whether they have, my 2 calls this week, I even had someone who was in their 80s with Parkinson's needing some tools to help with communication. So we do all of that and we do it all over the state. So if you're listening and you hear, oh, thinking of somebody else not a student, we do help, people who are not students too. So here's the goal. This is always the goal, especially in my field. How do you match a tool like any of the ones I'm going to show you? How do you match that to an individual student? Do any of you guys work in a district where they have a 1-to-1 ratio of technology to students? Have you heard of like the iPad initiative where every student has 1 iPad? Or I just learned in Broken Arrow, it's a Chromebook. You guys know what a Chromebook is? Okay. Yeah, little mini laptops kind of, but use a lot of internet. Like they do a lot of storage online because, there's not a lot of memory in this little guy. Anyway, so that's kind of their thing. One size, usually, do we know? It doesn't usually fit all, right? So we might use this tool and we might use it the way that we need to use it to do the things in class, but we might also need this tool to help us do something else. Maybe this reads things out loud to us. This helps us write our papers, okay? And that's assistive technology. It can be any of those things, and I feel like sometimes people need one tool to do multiple things or more than one tool. So we're gonna figure out how do you match it up. I've been throwing the words around a lot, but what is assistive technology? It can literally be anything that helps a person with a disability do a task easier, better, faster, or more efficiently that otherwise would be totally just difficult or impossible to do. They couldn't do it without the tool. Think about even a wheelchair. A person in a wheelchair is in a wheelchair because otherwise they would not be able to be mobile. That is how, if you can, think about some of the reading supports. It's a kiddo who without the tool could not do the task that you're asking them to do. We are not talking about giving crutches or allowing the student to not reach their full potential with their own skills. We're truly just trying to accommodate their current abilities and help them do the tasks you need them to do in the classroom. I do want to mention, we talk a lot about it, that it's the device. AT is a device. But it's also the service. It's you trialing the device. It's you getting training on the device. It's me showing you a demonstration of the device. All of that is considered assistive technology. So this slide has a lot of features. Have you guys ever heard the term feature matching? It's a way in speech pathology, it's a way that I can tell if you are going to be right for the tool that I have. I look at the features of the tool and I match those to what your needs are. Does that make sense in just a basic form? So, features of tools that you can use for reading, that's what this is. The tool needs to be able to do, at times, open and display digital books. Do you guys know of any tools that already know of any that do that? Opens and displays a digital book. Any of you guys read digital books?
Kindle.
On a Kindle. Any other tools that you already know about?
Or any tablet, I guess.
Any tablet. What about my phone? I read books on my phone that are digital. So in its basic form, it's a feature. It just needs to be able to open it. Laptops. What is it?
I put them up on my smartboard.
Smartboard, that's great. A smartboard could be a tool that you might use. Absolutely. Chromebooks, tablets like iPads, Kindles, even Surface tablets, if you've heard of those. Those all count because they all do this. Open and display digital books. What about tools that will read text aloud? I've been waiting for it to do that, and it hasn't. Okay, like a Word document. Do any of you use a feature on any of your devices right now that read aloud? What do you use?
I record and read back.
Okay, and
So
do you do that on
it records, I have an iPhone.
on your iPhone?
Yeah.
Very good. Anybody else do something read aloud?
I read aloud.
That's exactly right. You're
I
a
read it
tool. You are told me, and I'll tell you, this is all just bonus, but I promise I'm gonna teach you a lot while you're here. So if I opened a book, and I didn't plan on doing this, but I'm just gonna see how it works, if it'll pull up. Do you know what the book is I've been reading? Did you see the movie Me Before You?
I've heard
But did you see it in the theater, like as a preview or something? I didn't see the movie, but I had the book here. And this is the end of the book where it has the questions for if you want to do a reading group. And if you have an iPhone, this is a feature you can turn on. I just open that book in iBooks because that's my feature that I'm using right now. And I have 2 fingers, and I swipe them down.
Why is Louisa able to reach fluency and many others could not
Can you
say?
think of a kiddo who might benefit from something like that? And how simple it was. Now, if they have motor impairments,
Right.
might be more difficult, I can still turn on a read aloud feature on a device like this, but 2 finger swipe, just turned it on. If I had earbuds in, I'd be the only one to hear that. And you just said, read the chapter, and I get to read the chapter in the classroom with everybody else, and I'm not bothering anybody. Whereas otherwise, you would have had to read it to me in my special classroom. So that is one big feature about assistive technology. If it keeps the kiddo in the least restrictive environment, we should be doing it.
So you can get that on the iPad?
Yeah, that iBooks app is free. It comes on your devices, whether it's an iPad, iPad mini. So iBooks would kind of fall. Basically what you're telling me is iBook could be an AT solution for me, right? Because the iPhone has built-in text-to-speech. It can do it out loud.
Does like that computer, does it have text to speech?
It sure does.
But I wonder how many books you could get on there.
There are lots,
I mean, like,
especially if your kiddo
third
qualifies.
grade, second grade.
Absolutely, thousands. I'm telling you. Have you heard of Bookshare? Bookshare.org.
Well, I find them as I do, like different sites, and I put them on there just because the kids like it,
Like a public domain book or something like that?
Well, yeah, different websites that they
Okay,
have, like,
I see.
what is it? What is the one that we all have, the Scholastic?
Okay, and you can pull books from there. There's a website, and I talk about it later, called Bookshare.org. And if your kiddo qualifies with a reading impairment, visual impairment, or physical impairment, they can get their books in a digital format, in a Braille-ready format, large print format.
Bookshare.com?
Org. It's free. You just have to qualify with that disability. And I'm going to show you. It is a huge deal because I can pull the Oklahoma 3rd grade reading textbook on it. And if it's not in there, but I know I'm going to need it for a student, because we know, say, who our students are going to be, we can send the book to Bookshare and they can add it to their library. In
The
the
whole book
past,
or-
the whole book. And in the past, if we've said we needed a book, they went to Amazon, bought the book, we didn't even send it to them, and then they put it in their library. So those are in there, the exact books. Or in some cases, we've gotten some that we didn't know we needed that book, and it was last minute, but we needed it, and we got a version that was very similar. It might not have been the Oklahoma edition, but it was very close. So I promise I will tell you about that too. The idea is that I need to read the digital book in whatever file that's in. I need to read Word documents because that's how we're doing assignments. I need to read sometimes things when they're in a PDF format, which is more like a picture. I can't pick apart a Word doc like I can, or PDF like I can a Word doc. Web pages, especially your older kiddos who need to grab facts from the internet. How are they doing their research for their papers? Well, what if they could read aloud text from a web page? Then they might need that feature on their tool. What about files from Bookshare, which is kind of what we've been talking about here? Another feature that helps those who have reading impairments is to have the words highlighted or the sentences highlighted as it reads it aloud. I'm thinking of those sing-alongs where it's like a Mickey and it has the bouncing ball. That's exactly right. It's just, for adults or older kiddos where it just highlights the word. So I'm going to show you how some of those things work. Adding bookmarks is very important. I don't want to underestimate this. If you guys ever had to do a tape recorder, and if you are recording, and you need to go exactly to one spot in the recording, you gotta listen to the whole thing. A bookmark allows you to go directly to that part of the story. And so that's a very good feature to have. Customizing fonts, text color, and backgrounds. This is very important for our kids with vision impairments. I need to increase the font. Good research on putting yellow words on a blue background. Or maybe they need white words on a black background. I can do all of that with these different tools. But I need to know that that needs to be one of my features. So you're basically, what you're doing when you're looking at a kiddo is you're making a list of all the features they might need. And these are just some that you can pull from. And then again at the bottom, to customize audio, voice pitch, and speed. Like if you do have an iPhone, when I talk to my phone and ask it questions, like can you look that thing up for me? I have a male voice talk back to me. Siri is a male on here. But Siri's a female, right? As you guys might know. So I can customize that voice, I can change the pitch, I can make it go faster and slower. One of the things we've learned along the way is if you have a visual impairment, you're really used to, depending on your auditory skills, you can listen faster, if that makes sense. I can have you talk faster and still understand what you're saying. However, if I have dyslexia, I might need to slow you down so that I can actually comprehend better. When you use something digital, you have all the control to do that. I can, instead of add 100%, which is like how we're talking right now, very normally, typically, I can move that to 70%. Talk slower, and that helps people understand when they're listening and following along with text. So, do you guys see these as different features? These are things that tools can do.
You said if a child qualified for this, I have like 10 kids that have to go, more than that, 20 of my kids have to go into the regular ed classrooms for science and social studies. Needless to say, it's a struggle for them to keep up in that class because none of them can read them.
On grade level.
So even if I could get one and then they all just sit and listen to it.
If they all qualify, it should be okay. If they all qualify in their own right. But the truth would be that if they all qualify, could this person benefit from reading it on an iPad, this person benefit from it on a Chromebook, and this one need it on a laptop? You could
just need to
consider.
stink and hear it.
You're like, they just need me not reading it.
Well, no, it's not that because I don't have them, so the teacher is not going to read it to them. So
if they qualify, then you're not breaching any copyright. But I would look at the Bookshare.org qualifications, make sure that they qualify, and then consider that you could put it up on the smart board if everyone in the class qualified. And then you're not breaching copyright.
Well, I shouldn't do that because they just come to me for resource during that, so they would need like earplugs.
Yep, on a device.
Yeah.
That would be separate. Or a classroom computer, that would be in there. Okay, these are, if you came to Able Tech and you said, what do people borrow to do reading out loud or other features? We would say, oftentimes people are borrowing what we call literacy suites. A literacy suite has features that help somebody read or access the text through auditory and highlighting digital text and writing. So it might help me do drafting, and it might help me research topics, and it's going to read aloud and highlight and grab text and yada, yada, yada. That's what a lot of these do. Read and Write Gold, Solo 6, and Kurzweil, just 3 literacy suites that you can choose from. Then I don't want to forget, this is what you typically see on a desktop or laptop. Then on a Chromebook, some extensions is what they call them instead of apps like we might be used to. Speak It and Select and Speak are good ones that will grab text and read it out loud. And then 2 for the tablet, and these are specific to the iPad. We loan all the time. These are probably what we loan the most. And it's Read to Go and Voice Dream Reader. It used to be Read to Go all the time. Then Voice Dream Reader came out, and you know why it kind of rocketed to success? Is Read to Go will only read Bookshare files, but Voice Dream Reader will read those PDFs. It'll read Word documents. It'll read Bookshare files, and it was less expensive. How much something costs is absolutely a feature. So, I know if you came to the writing session, I don't want to put too much in this, but just thinking that if a kiddo needs help with reading, they often need help with writing. So consider things like Post-it notes to flag different areas, highlighters that they might highlight, or you might highlight for them, even something like a pencil grip or a slant board that makes access easier. Dry erase boards. You can consider something like a tape recorder, or even my phone has like a voice memo that I can use. Portable word processor. I don't still have one in here. It was in the writing session. Literally, they're called laptops, but all it does is word processing. Can't get on the internet. It can't do anything else. I just type my files and it saves them, and I can email those out or send them to a printer. That's all it is word processing. And then these are some of those other features you're going to find on tablets and laptops and Chromebooks. It will have a word processor like Microsoft Office Word. Maybe spelling grammar check like the squiggly lines under it to tell you, hey, you misspelled that. Talking word processor. Think about this one. If you typed W-H-E-R-E and you really meant W-E-R-E, and you have your text read back to you, you'll hear the error. I'll hear that it said where instead of were. And so that is a very good feature, the talking back to you. Or it can be text to speech. What about word prediction? Again, we have it on our phones. Some people like it, some don't. It guesses based on the letters I put in what the word is I want to say. Scanner and software to read aloud. They make these portable. I scan in the dock, and then it comes to my phone or my computer. They also have apps now that I take a picture, and then now it's on my device and it'll read it out loud. Zoom Read is one, it's an app. And someone just told me about one called Scan Type, and it's free. This one also allows you to, say you take a picture of the worksheet and you take it home with you, or you send it home with the kiddo, Scan Type, all one word smashed together. And now your kiddo can mark up on that digital copy, even. Type on that copy. And maybe not have to do handwriting. Send it back in to you. And then software and graphic organizers. You guys know what graphic organizers are. I always talk about the hamburger to remind you to do your beginning, middle, and end. Okay, that'd be another feature that you'd find in these different types of technology. Okay, so you've heard about some features. What can a device do? You're now, up with some different technology and what you can choose from. So how do I know if a person needs the iPad and an app, or that laptop and a software, a literacy suite, or that Chromebook and an extension? How do I know? You use the SET framework. Have you ever heard of the SET framework? When you guys are figuring out solutions for your students, it is the IEP team who does this. I hope I'm not surprising anybody when I say that. But these are the tools you're going to need to figure that out. SET stands for Student, Environments, Tasks, and Tools. And you guys know the student, the environments, and the tasks. What I've just spent the first part of the session talking to you about are the tool features. And even if you could get, 3/4 of the way and be like, okay, I think they need something with word prediction, and I think they need it to be this big and portable and durable and really not expensive. If you called us with that information, we'd be like, okay, here are your options. But you just got this far down the assessment path. So I want you to know you guys have so much power, and you really have so much knowledge to be doing this. But think about their physical needs. Can they carry that laptop around if they need to go to class to class to class? Or no? Or do they need a bigger screen than that? So think about the physical needs, like fine motor. Do they need the target to be bigger? Do they need a keyboard and not a touch screen? What about vision? They can't see it when it's that small. Lots of times I can enlarge, but I want more than 3 words on the screen. So maybe I need a bigger screen. Hearing abilities, also need to know about. If you have their independent reading level, that's good information here, listening comprehension skills, and then their ability to communicate thoughts and ideas. These are all areas you can gather information on. We have some good forms we can tell you about to use to do that. And then also find out, where do they need to use it? Don't just problem solve. Like we have talked, Miss Crystal and I, in another session too, and a big concern is, I could be doing this in my class, but they're not doing it in these other classes. What's the solution there? If you guys are working as a team, you might be able to figure out, if you consider all the environments, and then consider what do they need to do in each of those environments, it will help you. You will be able to land on a tool. It hasn't failed yet. But you have to do some background, get some background information. So these are just some questions. What do they need to be able to read? Is it mainly all digital? Or is it that hard copy textbook that they need? Or is it worksheets? Or is it their test, their paper test you gave them? You'd write all of this down when you collect all the information. These are examples of tasks, like they have to write an essay. Consider that that might be something they need to do. And then tools. Again, it includes devices and services. I think about the features, which is what we started with. What tools have those features? And then, I love this one, especially for our one-to-one groups. What tool do they already have access to? Like, what if they hold the key in their hands, but we need to do some adjustments? Like, we need to make the font bigger, we need to have it read slower. How do we even get it to read? Well, you have to download that extension, or you know what I mean? That's some stuff we just might not know. But they really could have the tool in their hands. And then, if they don't have it already, do they have access to it, like we talked about? Is there a computer in that classroom that they might have access to during the time? And then always, will more than one tool be needed? When I think about reading and I think about writing together, I usually consider something with a keyboard built in over this. If we work in a silo and we say they need reading, this could be a great tool. But if I consider that they also will need to do some keyboarding with word prediction, they might need some of those graphic organizers, then I'm going to kind of lean over here. Tell me they have to carry it everywhere, but they have great Wi-Fi access, and I might have just landed on this one. Tell me that they're in a wheelchair, and they're going to have a tray to carry something around. I might give you this one. See how it would be different for each student? Okay, good. All right. Now, I want to give you some free ideas, because don't we love free? Okay. And I want to show you this stuff too, but I want to get you the info. So, protocols for accommodations in reading, have you heard of that? PAR. If you are wanting to do a read aloud accommodation for a student, giving the PAR is one of your options when you go to the State Department of Education and you fill out that form and say that they need to read aloud. If you will give the PAR and show that they need the read aloud, they accept that as one of their deciding factors on whether or not they approve it or not for you. Does that make sense? It's approved by the State Department of Education for reading aloud on an assessment. PAR is online. I downloaded it to my home computer just to practice it, free. It's a paper format. They do make an expensive one that does online graphs and really cool stuff, but you could do it with the paper version for free. It helps you determine whether or not the student is actually a pretty good independent reader, but they might need more time, something we might not have considered. That they do need a human reader, because some kiddos have a really hard time processing a synthetic voice.
Okay, I work at Tulsa and they said that is so hard to get.
The PAR, you just download it from the website.
No, to get the accommodation.
You have to write it well. You have to follow their rules. I can't remember the other assessment, but it's the PAR and there's another one you can choose from.
OAP, but you have to, even with OAP.
It's hard. I'll tell you, I talked to the ladies from Broken Arrow. They said last year they submitted lots of requests for read aloud accommodations, and they got like 5 approved.
Yeah.
Wow.
We
Then-
only have so many per school.
They did the UPAR, which was the online version, they did a pilot, and out of 17 or 18, they only didn't get 5 approved. Because it is research-based way of determining that this kiddo can do it with more time, needs a human reader, or can do it with a digital reader. That literally is the PAR, the UPAR or PAR. You test them in each of those. You ask them questions following each presentation, different presentation, and you record how they did.
Okay.
Because it's just like when we were talking about the calculator.
Yes.
My kids, because they're 5th and 6th, 4th, 5th and 6th, there's skills that they're supposed to know that
Right.
that they,
At that grade level.
okay, yeah, and so are they testing them on them, or are they testing on them on their ability to read?
Right.
Because that's
Right.
what drives me crazy on the reading test. Because my
Exactly.
kids learn all this stuff about reading,
Mhm.
but they're not on grade level to pick up the 5th grade test and read read it.
Right.
I mean, we're talking the whole class.
Right.
So, I mean, and 5, I mean, I guess you picked your 5 worst,
I know. But I will say, what they told me, they didn't say, Broken Arrow didn't say, well, we were only gonna be allowed X number anyway. They said, we found that we hadn't written it in the IEP. And they declined them because we hadn't written it as the accommodation needed in the IEP.
But I
That
thought
was
you
theirs.
couldn't write it in the accommodation in the IEP unless, because I put
You were
human
gonna
reader,
get it.
I have a human reader in mine. But unless
And that makes sense.
I thought you couldn't put it in there unless you had,
You can't put it as a
The com-
OCC test accommodation,
yes,
but you can
unless
put it
you've
as
already
a
been
classroom.
approved.
Yeah, but you can
Well,
put it as
see,
a classroom accommodation.
mine are always all that in there.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that is the difference. Because what I will always tell you, if you ever ask, is if they need it for an assessment, they need it for daily instruction. And vice versa. If they need it for daily instruction, they need it for the assessment. And that just should be the way it is, because there's the same kid. and that's
Actually,
what
though,
they
there
need.
is no accommodation for reading in the daily.
In the daily what?
In the
The
daily,
daily
this
accommodation.
classroom is a classroom. There
You
is no
write it in
You
accommodation.
can
Yeah.
add some.
You write it in
I guess I'll have to write it in.
Yeah,
You have to write in
And
scribing
they're gonna
sometimes.
talk about, in writing AT and Ed plan, they're gonna talk about that after I talk. Dina is. Remember I told you, you're gonna have to collect information on the student environment, tasks and tools? Use these forms. It does it all for you. Go there to this link, and you can actually pull up a sheet on reading, and it'll ask you questions like fill in the blank checkbox questions that you're gonna look for to help you answer questions about the kiddo's reading abilities. Do the same thing if you're interested for composition of written materials. There are so many others, like there's one for speech, there's one for math, there's one for organization, that kind of thing. So that's all at that website. Bookshare. I cannot talk enough about Bookshare. It's a great free resource. It offers book files for audio. The difference between audio and digital is that audio is just audio. I will not see the text printed anywhere or highlighted. It's only me listening to it. Large print for those kiddos with vision impairments. Of course, digital we've been talking about in Braille. I can read Braille on a digital device. If you haven't learned about that, our coworker Kim Berry, she shows people refreshable Braille displays. New views out there, they might be able to tell you too. The dots refresh underneath their fingertips on these devices. Braille is not only on paper. So if you want to know, isn't that really cool?
Yeah.
Really cool.
I've seen this guy, because I went to one of their trainings, it was either New View or another one of the eye programs for vision in Oklahoma. He had his iPad in his pocket. You couldn't even see it because he was blind, and he had it in his pocket, and he had his refreshable Braille that way, and he was checking emails. And I was like, what are you doing? And his device was in his pocket. It was awesome. And it was all because it refreshed because he reads Braille. So it is available, and I mentioned before, you have to have a vision impairment, a physical disability, or a learning disability like a reading impairment to qualify. And if you go to their website, you'll find out about
Just
that.
being specific, learning disability isn't enough.
No, it has to affect reading. And I remember, and I'll need to look again, but just having a diagnosis doesn't qualify. If you have autism, it doesn't just qualify you. You have to have a reading disability. Because where this money comes from, you have to qualify in the ways that they want you to qualify. It is free though, and I encourage you, you can get an organizational account with Bookshare for free as a school, and then you add students who qualify as members and get them individual logins, and they can go in on their devices. They can pull novels that they're interested in reading, and not just read the 3rd grade text, but read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in the same way.
You said the schools can get a login free. Do they have to pay for student access?
All free. All for qualifying students. So, okay, I wrote some case studies. But I mean, they're for you to see. I really want you to see stuff. Don't you want to see stuff?
Yeah.
You can read this later.
Yeah.
Yes. This is what I'm going to tell you. Is I tried to set it up where you had SETT information. It wasn't a whole lot because you know you just did all one slide. And then this is what I would maybe suggest or recommend. Okay, based on SETT. Okay, let's look at some stuff if you're okay. The first thing I pull up is the thing I am most comfortable with, and this is an iPad. I have a specific app open called Voice Dream Reader, which I told you about. But I can open up any app, I can go to a web page, I can go to my email and do the 2-finger swipe down and have it start reading aloud to me.
That's awesome.
It is a built-in accessibility feature. Okay, but this one,
Chapter 1.
Jane
It is a
Austen.
truth universally acknowledged that a single man is
Okay, I'm gonna pass that around. Now, it'll flip. It's highlighting, she might be reading quickly, but we know as a feature, I can change that. I can change her from a woman to a man, I can slow her down, speed her up, change her pitch, change the highlighting color. Do you have a question?
Yeah, if you were, because I used to teach, I'm switching populations, but I used to teach severe and profound.
Yes.
Could you pull this up on the smart board?
If the kiddos qualify, you
Oh, they would, yeah.
absolutely. You can, because it's just a web page. And this is an app, but I'm gonna show you how it can be a web page.
Okay,
Are you guys, this is another thing about Chromebooks. I have to use Google Chrome on this. And I'm just gonna hit play on it.
well, no.
And I'm gonna pass it around here. Can you hear that one? You can change the volume. Feel, the things I want you to check out are the voice, how slow or fast, the highlighting, how many words are on a page, how heavy the device is, how big the screen is. That is an extension called the Bookshare Web Reader. And it is, I got there, I went through Bookshare.org's website. I logged in as a student, which is why you really want to give them access. You can turn that down if you want to. I think the volume's somewhere on the top row buttons probably.
it stopped.
Sometimes I feel like I need that.
Oh, because the highlighting ran out. Hit,
Okay.
hit the,
I was saying, you know, the Bookshare web reader.
choose that again.
Okay.
Just click on it and it'll start reading. Okay, this is a laptop and there's nothing fancy about this laptop. It just is a laptop. When I want to read a book aloud here, if I don't want to download a Chrome browser, because I've heard some schools block Chrome, Google Chrome, but this is just a laptop, I can go to bookshare.org and download a free reader. It's free and it's software and it bumps it right onto this desktop. I just downloaded it yesterday. Up right now are the directions on how to do it.
So once you download that,
Then I
anything you
can
go to,
download books. In this version, I download books from the website onto this laptop. And then I can read them offline. But I do need the internet to download the books. Okay, but as you can see, this is just my desktop. I'm gonna click on the software that I downloaded for free from bookshare.org, and it's up here, and it's called Read Out Loud Bookshare Edition. And again, those instructions are on bookshare.org's website. Okay, so it's saying accessing Bookshare. Oh, except it's not plugged into the internet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open a book The Adventures of Tom Sawyer comes free on here. Okay, this one I'm gonna tell you will read out loud too, but I wanna show you a different feature about this one. And it's that when I'm reading, if I know you're gonna ask me a question about something, I can highlight, and it puts my highlighted notes over in this right column, and that's what I want you to try here. So, and it does it by topic. If it's a main topic, it's gonna be a green highlighter. I only get access to my other highlighters once I've done a green highlight. So, if you're telling me that I need to write about, that this book is about an adventure, I just highlighted the very first sentence and I'm gonna click on the green highlighter and it put the notes over here. Now, if the next note you're gonna highlight is a main topic, you'd highlight it, hit the green highlighter. But if it's a supporting detail, supporting that this is about adventures, I'd click the yellow highlighter, or the pink one, whichever one comes next.
That would be no good, Mikey.
Are they, do they not know
We're
color?
working on that. They would just be all green. or all
Okay, these
yellow.
are all important details.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. So some things I didn't change, I mean, and I just didn't. I can change some background colors, I can do single page. I'm actually gonna make it, this makes it span, I just made it span the whole page, left to right. But I can increase font, I can, let's see, let's change it. Cause that was quite small, wasn't it? There's 70-point font. Same app, or same extension in this case. I just made it bigger. So now, does this meet the requirements of the kiddo who's using it? Again, say they already provided me my Chromebook, or say I'm considering it. This is $200. Very inexpensive, relatively. And that extension, as they call it, absolutely free. I had to download the Bookshare web reader extension, and then I had to go download the voice of that lady. And it just took a few minutes and a little bit of internet. Okay, a couple of other things I brought that would be exposed in the case studies. I'll show you too, because I don't know if you've heard them or seen them in other areas. But one of the case studies talks about a girl in the general ed classroom 100% of the time needing to read stories weekly out of her textbook, write down answers. This is to help her pay better attention in class. All it's gonna do is it's gonna amplify me into your ears. So
I've used them before.
you have to press that button on the side and hold it down until it says Contago receiver. And I'm the transmitter. I like to show this with the reading, and I like to show it with some others too, but mainly because you don't have to have a hearing impairment to benefit from something like this that amplifies only the positive noise.
We just used them where there was a speaker at the back.
And it amplified to everybody, and that would be universal design, which is very good. Am I loud and clear? My grandpa would say, "You're coming in loud and clear, Ann, and you're coming in pretty loud." I said that to her. Thank you. Anyway, so, okay, then another thing I brought, which you may have also seen in another session or not, and it's just an accessory, but it depends on, I mentioned having earbuds. You might need a different type of earbud if it's a tablet, or if you're using a laptop or a Chromebook, consider this kind of headset mic that has a USB port. This is going to be a good quality headset mouse, and this mic means, they showed it in another session, I can actually use the same Chromebook or this laptop or that, and I can talk to my computer and it'll dictate what I'm saying. It's built
That's
in.
what I need for that little boy that we were, Caleb, that's what I need. He can talk.
But he has trouble writing.
Yeah, I've got two.
So I can use this with this or that. I need a little bit different one for the iPad, but that's okay. The iPad actually has the built-in mic. So I can just talk near the iPad microphone and it'll
Don't you
start
have a
dictating.
program for that?
On what?
on anything?
No, it's built in.
In
When you
what?
buy all of these devices, it comes with speech recognition.
So I have a Dell almost exactly like
It's
that.
on your Dell. There was a lady I talked to and her device was like from 2001 and I said, okay, go into your ease of access center or go into your control panel. Even just your control panel and see if you see speech recognition. If you don't, go into the ease of access center and then you'll see speech recognition.
You could have been talking instead of typing.
And then when you're borrowing something from AbleTech, you might just need to borrow this to see if this works versus borrowing the whole doodad because you already have the device that it's built into. But it's true for our phones, it's true for tablets, because it's the way they're building things now for accessibility, which means ease of use for everybody. You with me? And let me see if there's anything else. I know this is where I just put screenshots so you can see. Consider that an iPad, I can get it smaller than an iPad, it can be an iPad mini, or I can get it larger than an iPad, and it's an iPad Pro. Those are also features. How big it is might be a feature. That's the one we just saw that I'm using right now. Did it work loud and clear and loud? Okay, then here's my 5th grader. I suggested a Chromebook with a read and write Google Chrome extension for him with earbud. And then for this, and that's a picture of what it looks like. And then for this case study, it was a high schooler. I did suggest he use this with a special software for dictating because he was going to be doing it all the time. These were my big students. Okay, you guys, you've been awesome, and I know it's even 1 minute over.